and knowledge shall increase. Daniel 12:4. And no man may buy or sell unless he has the mark. Revelation 13:17. Two prophecies. One about knowledge exploding, the other about money being controlled. And somewhere in between, a system appears that no empire owns: Bitcoin.
Hi, I'm Mai. Welcome to Bitcoin Basics. What if technology itself was part of the battlefield of the end times? What if the same increase of knowledge that Daniel saw was preparing the stage for the final 7 years, when money, power, and worship would collide?
The Bible says the beast will rise with a mark, a sign of allegiance tied to buying and selling. That means money becomes spiritual, economics becomes worship, and control of transactions becomes control of souls. So the question is, would God allow such control without giving his people a way to stand apart? Would he let a system of total surveillance rule unchecked without planting a counterweight? Daniel 12 calls this the time of increased knowledge. For centuries, money was physical: gold, silver, paper. But as prophecy unfolds, money becomes information. And at the exact moment when governments began seeking full control, a code emerged outside their reach. No king made it. No prophet claimed it. No nation can own it. It simply appeared, as if the stone not cut by human hands had entered the realm of finance. Bitcoin isn't divine. It's human, yet strangely beyond human authority. It has no throne, no temple, no central ruler. It operates on pure truth, math that cannot lie, ledgers that cannot be forged. And in a world of deception, that matters. Because Revelation describes the beast's power as built on deceit, false signs, false words, false balances. Bitcoin is, at its core, incorruptible truth in numbers. During the 7 years of tribulation, the world will be divided, not only by belief, but by systems. The beast will unify the nations under a single economic order, a programmable currency tied to identity. That is the mark system. It looks efficient. It looks safe. It promises peace. But it removes freedom, the ability to give, share, or survive without worshipping power. Yet prophecy always has a remnant. Always a way for those who refuse the mark to endure. In Noah's day, it was the ark. In Egypt, it was the blood on the doorposts. In the age of digital Babylon, it could be truth in code. Remember, the enemy always mimics God's design. If the beast builds centralized control, God allows decentralized order. If darkness creates counterfeit light, God reveals authentic light. If money becomes a tool of worship, then truth itself becomes the currency of faith. Bitcoin may not be salvation, but it represents freedom that mirrors God's character, voluntary, honest, and transparent. Think about it. The first system God gave humanity was choice. From Eden to Revelation, he never forces obedience. He offers truth and lets hearts decide. Bitcoin operates on the same law, free will. No coercion. No gatekeeper. Each person chooses to hold, send, or build by conviction, not by command. That's why it resonates so deeply with those who see what's coming. It's not a rebellion against God. It's a reflection of how God built the universe. Rules without rulers, order without tyranny, truth without deception. As the 7-year reign begins, the world's money will turn digital. CBDCs will appear first, dressed as innovation. Then global identity layers will merge: health, finance, citizenship. Eventually, every transaction will be tied to compliance. That's the beast's domain: centralized access, conditional worship. And yet, in the same digital space, another network exists that cannot be marked, monitored, or molded. It stands apart like Elijah before the prophets of Baal. It doesn't worship the throne, it serves the truth. And its language is math. This doesn't mean God's people should worship Bitcoin. But it could mean God permits its existence as a means of endurance, a system that resists corruption, allowing truth to circulate when lies rule.
Before we go further, remember, prophecy was never meant to make us afraid. It was meant to make us awake. Because what happens next will test not our wallets, but our faith. Subscribe, and let's walk through this age with eyes wide open.
Every age, God leaves a way to preserve faith under pressure. He doesn't always send angels. Sometimes he sends tools, things built by human hands, yet guided by unseen purpose. Maybe Bitcoin is one of those tools, a digital manna, falling in the wilderness of a controlled economy. When the mark system demands allegiance, God's people will face choice again. Not just between belief and disbelief, but between truth and convenience. Between centralized control and voluntary faith. Those who walk in truth may still buy and sell, but not by permission of man. By trust, by community, by networks of light amid darkness. Bitcoin won't save the soul, but it may sustain the faithful until salvation arrives. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God. Revelation 12:6. The wilderness doesn't mean isolation, it means protection. In that digital wilderness, maybe the faithful will trade, share, and give through systems that cannot be marked. Value anchored not in authority, but in honesty. And perhaps that's why Bitcoin came before the beast. To show that freedom existed first. Technology is the language of our time. Prophecy is the message of eternity. When they intersect, the wise will discern which side each tool serves. Centralized money mirrors the beast, total control. Decentralized truth mirrors God, voluntary order. Bitcoin stands in the middle, waiting to be chosen for good or evil. And in the end, every ledger, every wallet, every transaction will testify who we trusted and why. The coming years may shake the world's systems, but remember, prophecy is not about fear. It's about revelation. The word apocalypse means unveiling. And maybe what's being unveiled is not just judgment, but how truth itself survives in a world built on lies. If you believe we're entering that age, the 7 years when money, power, and worship converge, then watch the systems being built. Not with fear, but with faith. Because the beast will control currency, but God still controls truth.
I'm Mai, and this is Bitcoin Basics. Stay awake, stay faithful, and remember, in the end, truth, like light, cannot be centralized.